Hi and welcome everyone, Friar Tuck here. This is my epoch. As you see, I got a hotel room behind me. Thank you to my old man and my stepmom for giving Sam and I a warm place to stay for the next couple of nights while we wait for this warm temperatures to come in. So what we're going to be talking about today is that you have no rights. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to sit there going, I have constitutional rights. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the enforcement of your rights. It's think of it like this. It's like getting handed a wet noodle. There's no strength behind it. It's just you can sit there and flail it around, but it's really not going to do anything for you. Okay, and I've learned a lot of this because of having Sam, and having a dog that's registered as a service animal. She is protected by the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, and she also has civil rights, which is covered under the Civil Rights Act. Okay, and so thinking, my normal thought, and I think the average American's normal thought is, well, if you violate one of my rights, it becomes a criminal issue. Well, the thing is violating your rights is not a criminal issue. And, this creates a whole nother conundrum that which is the reason why I'm talking about this video, or talking about this topic in this video, is that, okay, so when Sam and I went into McDonald's, right? Well, being denied service it is considered illegal, okay? Because she's a service animal, she's protected, she has the right to go into the same places that I have the right to go into, okay? Because she's a service animal. I have I have proper documentation, and I also have proof of why she's a service animal and and I'm able to answer all the necessary questions. So at any point in time, Sam and I should not be denied entry into any place. But yet we go into a place like McDonald's, Green Apple, other establishments, and they say, well, oh, well, you can't have an animal in here. Well, the thing is at that point in time, I say, well, she's a registered service dog. Would you like to see her paperwork? 50% of the time, they'll go, yes, I'd love to see the paperwork. And I take out my phone. I show them her registration. I explain to them what her purpose is, and and the fact that she's in training. Because when you have a service dog, especially when you have a newly registered service dog, you do have a window of opportunity to be able to train that animal, because you can't just sit there and go, okay, it's a service dog, and then expect it to be fully trained. No, there is, in order to be able to train her as a service dog, one, she needs to be registered as a service dog, and then perform normal daily functions as a service dog. So that means, going in and out of establishments with me when I go shopping, and this is something that I've learned, but I don't like. But it is part of remaining compliant with all the service dog and the ADA requirements, because there are certain requirements. It's not like you can just sit there, you can register and then never do anything with your dog. Okay. And one of the things is even when I go to the bathroom, she has to go in the bathroom with me. I can't leave her, where I'm sitting and go into the bathroom. No, I have to take her with me. I have to go into either a family restroom or a disabled stall so that she can fit in there with me. Okay. So again, most people think that, something like that, when Sam and I are denied service, oh, well, even in the law, it says it is illegal to deny service. Well, what does illegal mean? Illegal does not mean that it is criminal. Okay, so that means you cannot call the police. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm being denied interest, I'm going to call the police, because what's going to happen, and I actually had a talk with the with a police officer at Bo Diddley Park, because they have a weekly thing that goes on there, and the police provide security there. And him and I had a nice long conversation. He's a black man, and so I was able to really pull some strings, in my conversation with him, to kind of get him to realize that the fallacy of what's going on, how it's actually it's nothing more than a wet noodle. Okay, and I keep going back to this. Because essentially, I don't know how else to explain it. It's a law with no teeth. Okay, so just because it's illegal does not make it criminal. So that means that if Sam and I are denied entry, well, the business can deny us entry. Now, what I have to do if I need to enforce my rights is now I have to go into civil court. I have to sue the organization or the business or the individual I have to actually sue them on civilly. Now, once I go through the whole civil process, depending upon how the judgment is handed down, then it can turn into criminal charges, because now that there's a judgment, it's been done, so on and so forth. But then again, that's a whole nother process to do. So that means if I go into McDonald's, they deny me. Now I got to go through the whole litigation process, which means it's money out of my pocket because I got to pay for the court filings. I may or may not have to pay for a lawyer. And then the time that it takes to be able to get recourse. So at that point in time, it's a place for me to be able to go and get something inexpensive to eat, charge my phone, get inside, be warm, and give Sam a place to rest that is warmer than the temperatures that are outside. Well, by being denied that and not having the ability to call the police and say, look, I'm being denied, and then for them to come in there and intervene, well, that's not possible. So therefore, Sam and I get kicked out of an establishment, and then we have to wait a year, maybe 2 years, depends upon whether they settle out of court, whether it goes to trial, all these different things. You got the litigation process, the fact-finding process, so on and so forth, okay? And at the end of the day, all we're going to get out of it is we're going to get money. Now, do we want the money? No. What we want is access to what it is that we were trying to get, which is an inexpensive meal, because I use the app. I get discounts for buying at McDonald's, and then I get points for it, which gives me more free food, which in my situation that benefits me. So we're losing out on that. We're losing out on a place to charge. We're losing out on a place to stay warm. And it's not like we're just coming in there and just sitting there for free. We're coming in there spending money, sitting in there using their services. Okay. Now you might sit there and go, okay, well, this is just for a service animal. No. If your First Amendment speech, if a business decides to censor you, you cannot call the police and say, look, I'm being censored. Here you go. Give them the opportunity to follow through due process and do their investigation, find probable cause, and then arrest those that may or may not need to be arrested. Okay. And and go through that process. No, you don't get that. You therefore have to sue them. And so the business itself gets to make a financial decision. Do we care enough about your rights enough to where we're willing to sit back and honor them, or are we just willing to settle out of court? Okay, fine, I'll give you $10,000. How much more money are they going to make? What is their business model? Because, in the corporate world, we hear this a lot. A lot of corporations, they do a cost benefit analysis on whether or not they're going to follow a law. And if they can make more money by breaking the law and paying the fine than they can by following the law, then they're going to break the law and take the fine, because they're going to make a lot more money. So all in all, are there really any protections? No. If somebody violates your free speech, you sue them, and the business can keep doing what it's doing because it's not going to face any criminal charges. Well, what about, when I owned a business, if I would have discriminated against somebody because of their race, creed, or religion, or whatever other protected class that there was, could I have faced criminal penalties? No, I could get sued. And they have to prove discrimination, and then that becomes a whole process. And, again, it becomes a lengthy, long, drawn out process. And it depends upon what happens in trial, if it goes to trial. But at the end of the day, if I still want to be racist and or discriminatory against an individual, I can totally do that as a business owner. I just got to be willing to pay the fine. And there may be certain things, like, let's say my clientele only wants white people in there, or my clientele only wants females in there. At that point in time, as a business, well, my clientele wants females. They don't want males in there. So therefore, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to hire you. And yes, I am discriminating against you because of your sex. And so therefore, am I going to face any real penalties? No. Financial penalties, as a business, I'm going to make more money because I'm giving my clients what they want because they're discriminating, which forces me to discriminate. Okay, so again, when you're talking about your constitutional rights, when you're talking about your civil rights, when you're talking about your basic protections that you are being given, that are being afforded to you, not only under law, but under the Constitution, do you really have rights? In my opinion, based upon the way that I've experienced things, no, you do not have rights. You do not have rights because the thing is if all you have to do is sue them civilly and they could keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not going to make any difference because there's not going to be any criminal charges brought against them, so that this individual actually has some deterrent. Because you want to know what? If you start saying to the CEO, well, instead of paying a fine, we're going to send you to jail, I bet you a lot of those CEOs would sit there and go, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much money it makes. I'm not willing to lose my freedom. But because it's a financial penalty and it's a financial decision for most of these institutions, they can and will and do constantly violate these rights with no real recourse. So you can go around and say, look, you're invading my privacy. This is a violation of my right, my Fourth Amendment right. Or you're putting me in double jeopardy. So that is a violation of the Fifth Amendment. Or you're denying me my right to constitutional carry. Well, it doesn't matter because I'll pay the fine and I'm still going to deny you. And, oh, well, you got some money. But what did you really want? Did you want the money, or did you want what you went in there for? Now, even as a consumer, yeah, you may never go back, from my example, I may never go back to that McDonald's ever again. Or after I get done with the suit, then I go in there and parade around in there and just, irritate them and stuff like that. Now, I can get some recourse, but the only recourse is financial. And for most of these institutions, it costs them less to pay a fine, settle out of court, give you $10,000 than it would be for them to follow the law for whatever reason. Now, some places, they might not think that way. Not every business thinks that way, but the larger the business, the more likely it is that they will think this way. So again, this is why I say that you really have no rights, because there are no teeth to be able to enforce those rights other than a financial compensation. And, with money becoming worthless, why would you want a bunch of worthless money to begin with? You want to be able to do the things in which you have the legal right to do without being impeded, but instead you're getting impeded. And, again, it all boils down to money. Okay. And I don't understand why it's like this. I think that this is probably a big part of the problem. The reason why, the Constitution really doesn't exist anymore, because I'll just pay the fine. Who cares? For example. Okay. So that's what I got to say on this topic. You guys know how to help the channel. It's all down in the description. Thank you for watching. You guys are absolutely awesome. And I hope that you guys learned something from this. I'd love to hear your feedback. And do you think that I'm taking this the wrong way? Or do you think that I actually have, skin in the game, not skin in the game, but do you think I have a legitimate argument? Or do you think that I'm just kind of twisting this around and making a big hoopla about nothing? Okay. So, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.